Welcome back from the commercial break. We continue to discuss this topic of discussion, that is taxation and city management for cities' economic welfare. And we are very much deliberate in this discussion. Our dear guests, once again I welcome you, Dr. Doreen Kunda, the head of department for public administration at Victoria University. And we will be taking us through the package you have in also addressing the existing either policy gaps or what we'd like to applaud to be the current taxation system. But I appreciated, and I once again appreciate Honorable Mutusa Onen Doi Bennett, the MP Youth Representative Eastern Uganda, for your passionate appeal and the insights that you were revealing to Ugandans and all the policymakers outside there, the viewers, of where those who are expected to be coming up as young entrepreneurs, how they are greatly affected because of the unstructured taxation system that may cause many not to join business, yet you are supposed to be undertaking entrepreneurship as a source of job creation and poverty reduction. We'll be coming back to you to conclude what you were referring to. You were now taking us to Mbale, and I was very much more interested. But for a short while, let's receive Dr. Doreen Kunda. In this matter, we believe you have a lot also to say that can guide policy making and that will benefit all citizens.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Joseph. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much, Honorable Hane. Once again, my name, I correct you, is Dr. Doreen Kunda, not Kunda.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Yeah, our viewers, good evening. Yeah, on this topic of ours, once again, you're looking at taxation and cities management for citizens' economic welfare. And we are trying to see how best Uganda's urban cities can achieve the socio-economic transformation agenda. Yeah, so one thing I would like to bring out is that Uganda has a vision of 2040, and it aims at transforming the country from a predominantly peasant and low-income economy into a competitive upper middle-income one. And how is it going to achieve this? In a way, the country is going to achieve this goal whereby the government has to spend whereby the government expenditure has shifted away from the social sectors like education, health, and it's now going towards infrastructure. Why? Because when you have infrastructure in place, then you can be assured of development in the area. Yeah, but besides that, how best can the country achieve this socio-economic development transformation agenda? I'm trying to look at 4 main things. One of them is the government needs to focus on the poverty reduction strategies. Yeah, these poverty reduction strategies, however, we see that they have guiding principles. 5 in nature. One of them is country-driven. The second one is result-oriented, then comprehensiveness, then the 4th is partnership-oriented, then lastly is the long-term. Yeah, so for poverty reduction strategies, the country has to focus on the local taxes. The local taxes that Honorable was just talking about, the local taxes that affect the citizens themselves. In a way, the government or the leaders that are in control may not be aware about all these local taxes. They may not be aware about the hassles people go through. I mean, the people that are engaged in trade and all that, people that have these small enterprises or small businesses. So the local taxes have distorting effects on the resource allocation at the end of the day. For instance, the local tax system tends to affect the new enterprises. Again, these are the small startup businesses that are just starting up. So you find that the taxes that Honorable was talking about, they tend to affect people so much in a way that they even just pull out of business. Yeah, and then from that, as a government or as a country, we can try to see how we can borrow a leaf from developed countries. Yeah, I'll give an example of China. I'm focusing on China. Why? Because I'm well cognizant of what takes place there. By the way, doctor, that's where I did my master's and PhD from.
Okay.
I was at Huazhong University of Science and Technology in Wuhan City. Yeah, for my master's.
Where COVID
Yes, where COVID started from. Yes, so I did my master's in public administration and management, then PhD also in public administration and management from the same university. So I was there for 5 years. So I tended to analyze the tax system in the city.
The tax system in China?
Yes, in China. But again, different cities have different governments. For instance, what takes place in Wuhan, the city where I was in, is totally different from what takes place in Beijing, in Shanghai. So you find the administration is a bit different.
But the policy is the same?
The policy is still the city mayors.
The taxation policy is the same?
It's relatively the same, but it's not the same totally. Because, I mean, different cities have different issues or programs they are tackling. And, I mean, it's a developed country and people are very competitive. You know, the population is up there. Like, everyone has to see how their city performs best.
I want to take us through, we'll go bit by bit, and I want to know the analysis in that way. When you take me for comparative analysis, I get much more interested.
Okay.
What should we admire most with the Chinese taxation policy? And ours here, especially as we build on the discussion that is aiming to ensure that those who join business, especially in favor of the young generation, they're able to maintain the business line. They cannot, you know, reach a time and say, we cannot manage because of unfavorable taxation policy. We like to relate much as we are not the same, and maybe we borrow a leaf straight out from the beginning. Okay. It's a pleasure once again to welcome you. Okay,
thank you so much, Dr. Joseph. Yeah, about the taxation policy in China, it's in a way that, before I go further, by the way,
yes, please.
One thing we need to understand is that China has the biggest tax base worldwide. Yeah, but that's something people tend to ignore, or maybe they may not have an idea. But I know people always cry about these other developed countries, US, Japan, these other European countries, but China has a big tax base.
You have some statistics about it?
Not really,
okay.
But it's in a way that, its information doesn't leak out easily, or they don't just put out the information, but I can tell you this, I mean, if you made any other research, you can come across it. It's in a sense that at least almost every country, like 90% or 95% of the countries, they have a debt with China. And I mean, any other person can imagine how do they get all that money. You get it? Yes, so China has a very big tax base. And remember, it has a very big population that supports that after India, right? Sorry, India follows China. Yes, so you find that the population, almost everyone is involved in business. Get? So the business is the small enterprises that people tend to be engaged in here and there in different cities. They tend to collect, of course, enough money that can support them. But one thing that has thrived its taxation base is that the infrastructure design is up there. Like, it's really, really good. I mean, people have no reason, like, for saying maybe the roads are not good, they don't have a way of transporting their goods, maybe they're going to be very late, maybe it's raining, I won't make it to my business area or to my office or something like that. So the infrastructure design and delivery mode, they are thorough. And then they also tend to prioritize the vulnerable. The vulnerable, these are like the women, if I may say. So women are supported so much. And then also the aged people or the old people, and then also the youths. They support them so much in a way that, for instance, if a graduate has like an innovative idea, he or she is supported to start a business. And they are not taxed at all, but they are given everything. So the infrastructure design and delivery is very important, and it has helped China to have that big tax base. Then secondly, the service provision models. This is in a way that they tend to partner with alternative service providers. And then thirdly is that they tend to have thorough data that is collected, in that the data that is collected tends to improve the local data through the community engagements. Yeah. And then fourth, there is also informal urban employment. Yeah, here they tend to recognize and support informed workers. Yeah. And then also there is financing and subsidies, whereby they tend to increase investment, and they tend to target the funds that innovating, or that tend to encourage.
So there's great support for small-scale businesses.
Exactly, and it mainly goes to like fresh graduates, if I may put it well. So in the universities before, okay, let me take you back to our Victoria University here actually. You know, we really encourage experiential learning. We want students to have those nice ideas, to be innovative in whatever they do, be the arts, being the science field. So in a way, leave alone the fact that China has the technology that is thorough, but in a way, when students are trained in that way, if their research is good, if they have those nice innovative ideas, in a way, when they graduate, they have to prepare proposals, something like business proposals or whatever idea you have. So if you table it before the government, it has to support you. I mean, it's a policy that is there. At least I witnessed that in Wuhan, where I was. Yeah, and Wuhan, I must say, it's not a very big city. But I mean, there are other big cities. There's Guangzhou, Beijing, Shanghai, and many others.
So we'll be coming back to you. You've given us the experience of China.
Yes.
And in the second, submission, our expectation is to look at the technical information that you may give us that needs to bridge a gap in our taxation policy, the taxation policy in Uganda, that may help us, especially as we are, our aspiration is for citizen economic welfare. Honorable Mutusa says that we want to localize it. I liked it that way. Localize it, please. I want you to come on again, localize it, and instead we can help our people. Our people need to be well, honorable.
Thank you.
And I want to first remind you that in 1990, the tax revenue in Uganda, it had declined to 5%, and of now it's over 11%, but of the GDP. And in all of this, we continue to aspire for a system that is more transparent and productive to benefit the citizens. It's a pleasure to have you say again.
Thank you. The topic for discussion is taxation for cities' economic welfare. If you look at our cities, let's face it, let's face the hyena. Our cities, right from Kampala, you go to Mbarara, you go to Jinja, you go to Mbale, Soroti, Arua. It's characterized by one, very poor health system. If you talk of taxation, you need a healthy population. If I am not feeling well, it means I will find ways of actually dodging. This money I would use to pay tax, I will use it to treat myself first. Now, I want to apportion duties. There is where government must do their part, and there's where
the
citizens must do their part. Most of us, the leaders, we spend a lot of our time in our council, where we would be debating on the welfare of our people to fight. If it is doctor bringing this, then it is bad, and so it must die. If it is her bringing this, then it is good. It must go on. Then doctor will also fight. I want to give you a very clear example. There was a time when government sank in a lot of money in Usafi market. The idea of Usafi market was a very good idea. Down here, to take care of our brothers and sisters and uncles who were engaged in vending, street vending, park vending. Because then KCCA was saying, you have to go to a gazetted place. Brilliant idea. But one big elephant is the people we don't know. You sink in a lot of money, build Usafi market, then I did my underground research and I confirmed. You find an individual owning up to 10 stalls. By the time the vendors came in to look for stalls, they would find there was no space. People who are already empowered financially ran and worked with the technical and political team of KCCA and then took over the stalls. So you come, I already have 10. So you pass through me. I name the price at pleasure. So I charge
so that
you.
You can get the store.
Yes, because now for me, what the big guys would do, they come and one person takes like 10 stalls. You who is a vendor, you come, you only want to hire one. Perhaps share even with another vendor because you don't have capacity. But you find that the amount of money rent charged was exorbitant because these are capitalists who have made their money. Their interest is just to multiply their money. So this good venture frustrated our people. Now,
the common person.
The common person. So you find that someone comes, pays rent for the first 3 months. They are given maybe 2 months. The practice was you pay and they give you a bonus of 2 months. 90% of the vendors did not renew their contract for tenancy. Why? Because someone else who does not understand the game but they have the money, came, invested, took the stalls, and now his interest is to make the money. And they are not paying tax. So you who has now brought here your goods, KCC wants money, URA wants money, all these other entities, they want money from you. Now, that is one blunder. The other one was when that was part of the reason, because if you have an organized settlement where traders are, if we are 3, then you know each one of these will pay this amount of money if there is that consistency. Now, the other mistake that happened was initially the vendors complained that Wasafi market, if you may recall, there are no people, there are no customers. KCC then came and said, okay, case in point, because we are in Kampala, this is where we dwell. They came and said, okay, Entebbe taxi park will shift to Wasafi market. Very brilliant idea. Because if the taxi stage now shifts to Wasafi, you and me and her who are going to Entebbe, we shall walk to Wasafi market and board taxi from there. While you are going there, you will see a guy with bread, sugar, clothes, books. These other mamas of ours who sell greens, you buy. And so, now, whereas KCC brought that, they failed to enforce. The same Entebbe stage remained in the old park. They remained in the new park.
As you go on, Honorable, make sure in the next 2 minutes as we are going for the break, what's the implication of that on a common person, and as well the relationship between the common person and the government that is expecting?
The implication here is very clear.
Yes, sir.
The common person who is trading to earn a living day to day is not catered for. If you've come with a project, if you don't want vendors in the street, the law is also very clear. Create for them a space, then enforce. When you've created space, create for them enabling avenues. If it is like Wasafi Park, enforce that a certain number of stages are taken to that place, such that people keep flocking there. As they flock to go on with their business, there will be customers to these traders, and then these traders will earn money from which they will survive on. They will also buy from these capitalists, and they will pay taxes.
I've got it.
It is ridiculous that you find people just fighting. We want contract to manage the toilets. A park is there, people, big guys fighting. It was on news a few years back, how these public toilets are actually managed by big guys. leaving out the multitude of people who are traders, who are hawkers, who are vendors, who actually get the money from the local person to then earn a living and also pay taxes. If these arcades are operating and vendors and hawkers are not buying from them, where are the goods going to go? Where? They need a no now. But I also want to admit that perhaps because there is lapse on organizing the vendors and the hawkers who had been used to this status quo for so many years, they now become adamant. Even when you tell them, go here, they cannot go because theirs is only survival. So my issue here is government must be very deliberate that if it is about taxation, let's be organized and say, all, like Kampala, we've been having thousands of vendors and they have their associations registered with membership. Organize them, create avenues and say, every division in Kampala, let's have a setup where this is a gazetted market. You remember back in the day, there was, when Jennifer Musisi was the head of KCCA, there was an arrangement where every Sunday along Barton William Street, traders would come and trade freely along on the road. But when the modernization came, smart city project came, that was killed by the no motorized zone. There are areas that has been gazetted where cyclists or motorists don't access. So for me, it is about the organization. It is not deliberate. It is favoring those who already have capacity.
Thank you.
Yet they need the common person who will sell to the other person and then bring back money here.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mutusa. Your articulations are so much, passionate on what is happening and why you made it better. I'm not applauding you because you are here, but the truth of the matter is that you've showed your discussion is not political.
No.
And what has happened always in this matter of taxation and city management, they have always tried to coin it with politics. And I think taking that path where you even passionately appeal the government that let there be a creation of a space where they can allocate these workers who are being exploited by the middle persons. And it is something that should be taken care of.
People of arcades also should have their space, such that a vendor does not come on the veranda.
It was a very good one, and in the next session, as we go for the commercial break, we'll be welcoming you, Doctor, to tell us the factors that favors, a relevant taxation policy that is for Uganda and the rightful way of city management. Stay tuned on Smart 24 TV. See you in the next session.
Usafi died.